or so.
Yeah, you got it. Over the past, 3.5 months now, we've had 3 attacks here in London, and we've had one up in Manchester. That was the bombing, as you will recall, and down here in London, 3, if you will, vehicle-based attacks. So, yeah, it's pretty edgy right now.
What are the types of people who are doing these things? I mean, I just don't see a common person in London or the United Kingdom being this way at all, but I guess maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, you're right. I mean, 99% of the people here, want a quiet, peaceful life, and they scratch their heads. They see this. But the people on the fringes, the Islamic extremists, we had the 3 individuals in the van at the London Bridge attack a few weeks ago, and now we have an Islamophobe who's attacked the Finsbury Park Mosque a couple of nights ago here. Two sides of the same coin. And what ISIS would love is to get it into a tit-for-tat, if you will, confrontation, and keep the ball rolling. But again, you hear from the Prime Minister, from the Mayor of London, community leaders. They say, look, we stand together. We will not be divided. We're not going to play your game. We're not going to get into a war. We're not choosing sides one way or the other.
Is it just me, or I get the impression that these attacks are not coordinated with ISIS? Maybe the underlying factor, anti-Muslim, behavior in the country, but I get the distinct impression that these are one-offs from people who are just desperately upset about the world.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. They are sympathizers, and it doesn't matter if you're radicalized on a street corner or radicalized, plunking away in front of your computer at 3 a.m. The net result is these are deeply troubled individuals. Somehow they've gotten on this rail line that says this is their purpose in life, and they perpetrate these kinds of horrific attacks.
What, if anything, can the authorities do about these things? Because, I mean, there's literally no way of predicting when they're going to happen.
Exactly. You don't know when. There are not unlimited resources to follow everybody. Many of these attacks, and sadly you find out, yes, they've heard of person X or Y, maybe 2-3 years ago. They checked them out. They says, now there's not much there we can do, and they have to check out other people. So it is not uncommon for these names to have popped up. This current attack on a mosque, the authorities say, no, this person was not on the so-called radar, but in some cases, yes, that is the case, and it's difficult to try to keep tabs on everybody. And at some stage, you have to say, we got to drop this name off, and we got to check out some other people. So it is an ongoing, never-ending battle. You win more than you lose, but sometimes they do sneak in and they get off a quote-unquote successful attack.
We're talking with Tom Rivers with ABC News in London. I'm just wondering about security efforts. For instance, here in St. Louis a number of years ago, down on the Arch grounds, they put these concrete bollards up to try to prevent people from driving vehicles that would have explosives in them. You're seeing more of that around London now.
You're going to see, it goes back to 2005. That's when we started seeing them going up after the attack on the subway system and a bus here. They went up around places like stadiums, down at Wimbledon, et cetera, and probably we're going to see a few more of those. But you look at every street, every nook, every cranny, it ain't going to happen. It's impossible to cover every square inch here. So there's going to be some large gaps, and that's the nature of the business. You cannot get down to, if you will, 100% protection.
We heard that clip of audio from Prime Minister Theresa May before we started our conversation with you, but I know that the mayor has also been very outspoken by saying, look, get out, do things, don't let these people control your lives.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's the mayor here, Sadiq Khan. He's the first Muslim mayor of this large city. He's been saying those kinds of things. We got the opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, and he probably spoke for just about everybody here when he said an attack on a mosque, an attack on a synagogue, an attack on a church is an attack against all of us. And again, that's the feeling up and down the country. There's literally a handful of people on either side of the equation that want to, if you will, engage in some kind of a confrontation, but the vast majority just shake their heads and they say, why are these people doing this?
So what are you hearing from the man on the street, as it were? Because you're interacting with people from London all the time. What are they saying to you?
you know, we've had so many of these now over the years, and they just kind of go, well, you know, it's something you think about when you get on the subway system or a bus or whatever, or go to a pub, whatever. But, you know, it does dissipate over the days, and you go about your normal business until something else jolts you down the road. So, you know, people are pretty resilient, and they say, look, they understand it, they don't like it, but eventually it gets put in the back of your mind, and you carry on doing what you always do.
I'm curious, has the monarchy said anything? They don't usually react to things like this a lot, but if they formally, has the Queen come out or her press people said anything officially about all of this?
Nothing, but you're absolutely right. They generally put out the right kind of verbiage from the royal press department, extending sympathies, condolences, that kind of a thing. The Queen did go, for instance, we just had last week this terrible high-rise fire. Mm-hmm. She went out and she engaged with the survivors there, where the Prime Minister didn't do that for a few days, and she was criticized for that. So yes, they kind of are dialed in, the royals. They know the score, they know the mood of the country, and they generally do the right thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of that changed when Princess Diana died. Remember, the Queen took a lot of heat because she didn't react very quickly,
yep,
and in a very formal fashion. And I think that changed the thinking of the House.
They had to come around, because back then their popularity was at an all-time low, and certainly over the years they gradually have increased their popularity. A lot of that has to do to the younger royals, William and Kate, and to an extent also Harry as well. But you're absolutely right, and it is a PR, if you will, effort on the part of the royal family, or the firm, as they call themselves, to ingratiate themselves and make sure that they're seen in the right, if you will, outlook as far as the public goes.
So maybe it's time to bring back that sign that they put up during World War II. What was it? Stay calm and whatever. And now it's been used in jokes a lot of times. Perhaps perhaps it's time to roll that back out again, eh?
Well, it is kind of, yeah. You know, and frankly, there's not a whole lot you can do other than if you see the obvious, get out of harm's way. But again, you look at the numbers too. You got 12 million people roughly in the greater London area, and 99.9% of them are going to have no problems. But again, you know, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know, something could happen to you, but you cannot predict that.
Tom, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care.
Tom Rivers, ABC News correspondent, joining us from London here on the Big 5.